Hi, I'm Zev Bagel. I want to read you another portion from my book, Solitary. I'm going to read from chapter 7. Solitary is about two men, really. One's Duncan Lindsay, a Canadian writer who's incarcerated in a prison in Iran, and his fellow prisoner in another cell with whom he communicates through a tiny hole board in the wall. The other prisoner's name is Hamid. They each tell their stories to each other through this tiny hole, and this is part of Hamid's story when he was a boy of 8 years old. He climbed onto the windowsill of the tiny attic bedroom and gazed down on the street scene. The boy held the key in his hand as his father instructed on the way up the narrow staircase. Lock the door, Hamid. Take the key and put it in your pocket. Don't make a sound or open the door until your mother or I tell you it is safe to come out. Now he perched alone, looking upon an angry, surging mob, brandishing torches with which they set alight anything flammable. An automobile blazed beneath, sending acrid fumes reaching up to where the boy stood behind his window. Shouts floated along with the smoke. A boiling ocean of arms, topped by fists waving in unison, appeared to Hamid like fish leaping through a turbulent sea. His bare feet slid on the wooden sill, and Hamid gripped the side of the window frame. The paint flaked off, and his fingers rubbed along the roughness of the bare wood. He wore his pajamas, blue and white stripes, the cord dangling from the loosely knotted bow, so his other hand, the one in which he clutched his key, held on to the waistband. The shouting became more rhythmic, words bursting out in time with the fists until he made out the repeated phrase, "Down with the Shah! Death to the Shah! Long live the revolution!" The crowd must have marched along the street, waking his parents, who brought Hamid from his bed and hustled him up to the attic for safety, his mother's heart beating against his chest. His father would handle this mob. Why were they so angry with the Shah? His father would explain everything to them. Father will make them go away. A mass of men formed into a semicircle around their house, facing the door, raising their fists and their torches, shouting at someone, another man who faced them. Hamid could see the top of this man's head, his back to the house. Another joined the man, then a third and fourth. Hamid recognized Farokh, a neighbor and friend of his father. Many of them were friends. He knew them, though not all their names. They held their arms out toward the crowd, palms up. And there was his father, stepping forward. His father, who held the highest office in the town, who taught Hamid to love the Shah. His father speaking to the crowd, which became silent for the few seconds before a shot cracked across the square. The silence continued for some seconds more, while Farokh toppled forward and crashed to the ground. A roar went up. Men surged forward. Hamid could no longer see his father, swallowed up in the maw of the crowd. The boy jumped from the window ledge, ran to the door. Hamid listened at the keyhole. His father had told him not to open the door. On the other hand, if his father had been captured by those men, Hamid must take care of his mother. When he was old enough, he would fight alongside his father. He would join the Shah's bodyguard. Hamid slid the key into the lock, turned it, pushed the door. From 3 floors below came screams and shouts. He ran back to the window, stood on his tiptoes to look out, still holding on to his pajamas. The mob became quieter, fists no longer pumping, men turning back, milling about, dispersing. Hamid walked back, stood waiting. He pulled his pajama cord tighter, tied a bow, and put his head around the door. Who would come for him? The boy stood looking down the steep flight of stairs, the toes of his bare feet pulsing like jellyfish on the floorboards. A shudder racked his frame, becoming a shiver that shook every nerve in his body. His limbs trembled, his teeth chattered, his head rolled from side to side. He felt cold. A door slammed. More shouting. From inside the house, Hamid held on to the doorknob, which rattled in his hand. Should he go back in, lock the door, wait? A sob burst from his chest. He gripped the handle until the shaking stopped. Why did those men want the Shah dead? Why did they want to attack his father? The Shah was good. His father was a good man, an important man, nearly as important as the Shah. And his mother was nearly as important as his father. Hamid knew the stories, all the stories about the family, going back to his great-great-grandfather. Now, all those angry men burnt things, shot and killed people. Had they come into their home because his family loved the Shah? He would not let it happen. Hamid let go of the doorknob, stood once more at the top of the stairs. He took the first step on the descent to their living quarters. We'll leave it there for now. Maybe there'll be some more some other time. Thanks for listening.